So hi everyone. So couple of my friends were always asking ki, can you do a video on tele on AWS? So this is an architectural diagram, right? So let me just explain the diagram and then we can discuss about different use cases in this diagram as well, right? So by default, we always take the application server. So here in this scenario, it would be Windows server, right? And we always put it in private subnet. Uh, we don't ideally expose it to the internet, right? So we don't put it here. So one thing is it's in private subnet, then and then we have other components which are in public subnet, right? So here the solution is will install Windows Tele in this Windows server, right? And we have we have a Western host, which is basically the jump server, and any user from any kind of location can access it through the jump server. Right now this is the entire Windows server, he can access it, right? So basically these would be like the developers who or the admin who want to make certain changes, right? Now this admin will come and say that I also want to update the tele or other applications that is there in the Windows server. So that then what will happen is uh, uh, he'll first reach the jump server Western host and then go to the this entire Windows server, right? Now what will happen is after that, if he wants to update, it will connect to the net gateway, and the net gateway will go to the internet gateway, and then it will get access to the internet, right? So here information will pass to the net and then to the internet and then outside, right? And it will details will come in to update it. That is one. Now in this particular scenario, what I have assumed that there would be a side-to-side VPN, right, with the customer environment. So this is the customer environment that is there. So there is a customer gateway, and here is our gateway, right? So we are connecting side-to-side VPN. So the customer from here would have the access of the entire VPC, right? And then they would be able to access the tele over here, the tele server. Right. So two things for tele, right? If you want to access the tele, I mean, there are a couple of ports, right? The default port of tele would be 9000. That should be enabled. And then we have for accessing tele, it's a RDP that happens, right? So again, 3389 port also needs to be enabled. So what will happen in tele, a customer have their a small agent installed in this device, and then it accesses the application here. All right, so that's how it is. Now somebody will come and say that what if the user is moving around, right, and we need to give him access through a secured connection. So in that case, what we will do is we can install an open VPN here, like let's say take one EC2 instance. So right, we take it EC2 instance, right? So small. So we'll place this EC2 instance here, right? I mean, like we should be properly aligned, but we'll place it over here now. Then install the OpenVPN over here, right? So it will be a point to site connection that is enabled, right? So any user who is outside this customer environment will connect to this environment through this OpenVPN, right? Point to site. So they also would be able to access it. Uh, Now one more thing, it's important since we told that for tele two port needs to be installed, right? Enabled. It's 3389 again, and then that's an RDP port, and then port 9000, that's a tele port, right? So in this scenario, let's say there are 10 users, right? So you need to buy extra Microsoft RDP license, right? Because tele ideally gets installed in Windows Server. So RDP is getting use, so again you need to have that, right? So that's about tele. So I've put in additional components as well to show to make a complete solution, right? It's just the core infrastructure. So apart from that, we have this VPC. We need to show an availability zone, right? Let's say I'm in India, so it can be a Mumbai availability zone, right? Mumbai region, under Mumbai region, there is like three availability zones, right? So you can choose which availability zone to deploy, right? So in Mumbai region, I'm putting Mumbai region over here. Yep. So that's the Mumbai region over here, right? So I have also mentioned a couple of things, right? So CloudWatch, CloudTrail, obviously, then guard duty and SNS, right? Guard duty will detect any kind of anomalies, right? And then it will be notified to the customer through the SNS. So we also have connected an S3 bucket. So endpoint of the VPC, right? So the endpoint I have mentioned here, and it will go to the S3 bucket, right? And also a backup service we have used. So basically, we can do a incremental backup for, like, let's say one backup every day, right? So that can be done. So above that, in the architectural diagram, we can put this AWS cloud, right? So this is ideally the entire tele solution you can see over here, right? So since we are not giving any kind of internet access, so there is no ALB over here. In case of some other servers, right, who needs an internet access, we'll put an ALB over here, internet gateway, and then WAF, and then route 53, or like it can be ALB endpoint would be routed to some other DNS provider, right? So that is the scenario. Or with WAF, there can be sealed as well, right? WAF ideally in application layer security. So that's how you give a solution for tele. Now somebody will think that how to give an estimate, right? So we can also create an estimate. So let me show you. We can go to the AWS calculator. So yeah, so it's in Ohio. Let's I talked about Mumbai, right? So I'll put Mumbai, and then we'll put EC2. Yeah. So it's EC2 instance, right? So here in this case, let's assume there are like 8 to 10 users, right? We are choosing shared instance. Of course you can choose other instances as well, but in this case I think shared instance suffice the need. It will not run on Linux, it will be on Windows server, right? Now what we have to select is the configuration. Now configuration customer will ideally tell you, but let's assume it can run on a 4 or 8 core machine easily with a 16 GB RAM. Again, I'm kind of over provisioning here, but right sizing can be done, and it can be done after 1 month or so, when you can see an average usage, and also figure out the peak usage as well, right? So like if the average usage is just 20%, 30%, we can reduce it to a like 4 core like machine. uh, that's how it is. We can choose to a 4 core and a high compute machine, right? So that can be done. Again, we need to understand which right instances to select, right? So here you can see there is an Intel, there's an AMD, and AMD is the cheapest of all, right? So we can select an AMD processor, right? Again, don't go for Graviton, that's not suited for Windows environment, right? So go for AMD or Intel processors. Or let's say we are choosing a 4 core, right? In this case, we can choose a better network performance instance as well, right? It's a 4 core, so we can choose an Intel 4 16 GB, or we can choose we can go to a better, this instance as well, right? Which are more optimized, which are better, far superior than these instances, right? Again, you have to choose which instance to select, right? So here again, we are choosing 8 core only, and 16 GB and AMD processor, right? Now Again, on demand, we can figure out, again, if the customer gives you an option that he's going to, he gives you forecast that he can run it for the entire year, like commitment model, so you will get a discount, right, of 66%, or he can choose an EC2 instance, which will give him a discount of like so up to 72% discount. Again, it will vary case to case, but yeah. Or we can have a discussion with him and understand how long he would be using tele, right? Let's say 10 hours a day. So what we'll do is, that's hours a day, we'll put it like 10, right? Obviously 10 hours a day he is using, so price for those 10 hours a day will be going, right? Now we can here choose, let's say he says that 100 GB, right? So 100 GB. So we can here also say that, okay, daily one snapshot to be put with an incremental of, let's say, 4 GB. Right, so that is the scenario. In this case, I'm choosing GP3 only. I'm not going for IO, and these are for better performance. It's not required. GP3 is perfectly good. Don't go for GP2. It's an older version. GP3 is a more recent one with a 15% more optimized speed. Alright, so that's the estimate for only the tele instance, right? So you can see there are a lot of other things to do. Now tele we have done, right? Now we'll go for that best on host. Now best on host is nothing but an EC2 instance only, right? So you can click on best on again right over here, best on host. Right, again this is a Windows. Best on, it's a jump server only, so you don't need to choose a very large instance. 2 core 4 GB is more than enough, or 2 core 2 GB also, but I'm here choosing 2 core 4, and then you give a like again I'm putting on demand only, but then again you can turn off the western stop, put it at a stop stage, right? And here I'm putting like 20 GB, because all of them are accessing through side to side. Here only the developers or the administrator, basically administrator will be accessing it through the western, because he wants the entire access of the Windows server, right? So I don't think, or like ideally he would not be accessing it 24/7 on particular days. So what can happen is, like, he can use an IAM user to access this environment with admin rights, and then he can turn the western host on, and then he can do RDP to the jump server and then to the tele server, right? So western host don't need to be turned on all the time. It can be off, put in a stop state, right? So that's based on host is done, right? So this one and this component is done. Now we have other components as well, main components. So VPN, right? So we can choose single VPN. Have a limit of basically it provides you two tunnel, have a limit of every tunnel have 1.25 GB, and then combined would be 2.5 GB, right? So it's pretty decent enough. So here you get VPN connection, okay, and then you can so in next we'll put net gateway as well, right? So one VPN for like 24 hours daily, and then so the price you can see 36, right? Okay, now net. So net again, it's required to update. So on net, so here will how much GB per month net data processing. So let's say how much update will happen per month, right? Let's say 20 GB, close to $40. It will not make much sense if I put 10 GB also. It's $41, right? Ideally, like one also 40, right? So net by default is a $40, uh, right? And it will be completely running throughout the month. So uh, now net is done. So what we have done is VPN is done, Western is done, Tele is done, net is done. So these are all the main components that is done. Now we have S3 bucket, SNS, GuardDT, CloudTrail, and CloudWatch, right? So put CloudTrail. So I got CloudTrail, yeah. So CloudTrail, I mean, you put the description if you want. Ideally, is a good practice to do. CloudTrail, like per month, right? Depends. So like, see, it will not make much of a difference even if you put, right. So ideally, you can put save and add services, because like It will be entirely what do you call it, pay as you go model, right? So how much they use, and that would be the pricing coming. But still it will not cost you much. It will be under $1 or so. So here again we have seen logs, right, for logging sites. So here also, like, again it's a GB, it will not be that much, right? So you can see $1.35, right? So guard duty then. So you can see the guard duty, S3 protection. So we'll have S3 also. So guard duty, malware protection, or EC2 instance, right? So GB per month, again maybe 2 GB, 3 GB, right? Even if you put 10 GB also, you can see it's $40 only. So it's not much of a difference that will be there. Again, you put 10 GB, right? And then for S3, total size of S3 object scan per month, again depend. So not much of that will happen because you are not keeping anything in S3, maybe something else, right? In this case, everything would be scanned in this one, EBS only, right? So $4. Let's say card duty price would not have that much of an effect, right? Then like we have SNS, so it gives the notification, right? So here you can see millions per month. It will not be millions per month. It will be like, let's say, 1,000. Emails again, millions per month, put it per month. So it's like 1,000. So what'll happen is 1,000 per month. If you like millions per month, would be like 1,000 million per month. So that one, I mean, that much notification will not happen. All right, you can see $0. I mean, it will be very least, right? Save. Now, ideally, if we see the summary, so this is ideally the entire estimate for a tele, right? So this is the main server. Like we gave 8 core 16 GB. Now it can be like uh, somewhat less as well, right? So 8 core 16 GB, so you can see, right? And then for 10 hours a day, for this is an instance, AMD instance, right? So you can see. So ideally the price monthly cost would be 228, even though we choose an 8 GB, right? If you choose 4, it will be even less, right? And plus the best on host, it will be not running. So again, you can reduce that as well, $130, right? NAT gateway is required, so it will be there, and others, right? So basically the main component is the tele server itself, the VPN, and the NAT, right? So that's about it. This is the basically estimate for a tele, right? If it's an ERP, then we can have a separate discussion on the same, right? That ERP, again, the main difference would be, let's say if it's just an ERP where uh, this is an ERP system, right? Let's say it's a third-party ERP with a database itself, right? So in the same server hosted. So same architecture only would suffice the needs. The ports would vary, right? So how does the ERP access it? Um, so the OEM of the ERP will tell you that, right? So which ports needs to be enabled. Accordingly, we'll enable those ports, and then rest of the diagram would more or less be same. Or yeah, there's one more thing that we talked about, point to site VPN, right? So open VPN we can put then EC2 instance. So here we can add another one EC2 instance, the small EC2 instance, right? Depending on open VPN, right? So that can be the Windows server or something of that server. 2 core 4 GB, right? So that'll be enough, right? So so this is the first thing you will get in. I mean, this is one of the solutions that you would be dealing with client in and out for a beginner level solution architect, right? Okay, thank you for your time. Hope you enjoyed the video. So initially my videos would be all about a small solution, and then I'll move to a higher level solutions, right?